Even Dr. Buke, I mean those people who did not practice any formal meditation and suddenly had experiences of higher consciousness or mystical experiences, or in the case of those who were mystics from birth, the indication is that this brain and the nervous system have already reached a state where just a little trigger or a little stimulus is sufficient to plant them in the higher state. In many cases of the spontaneous mystical experience experienced by poets, writers, and many other people, we can even say in the case of Einstein, the way in which he describes the mystical condition of mind and treats it as the highest possible experience for man, the brain has already reached a state where the transition can be effected without much effort. In fact, the aim of nature is to lead man to higher state of consciousness by the evolution that is proceeding slowly. But meditation, prayer, worship, and pranayama and other yoga exercises tend to accelerate this process. And now, in the case of one in whom the maturity or ripeness has been attained, it can lead to an abrupt opening of the dormant center in the brain and the flow of the energy to the Sahasrara, which causes sometimes very disquieting and distracting situations. But in some cases where the cerebrospinal system is not so well attuned, the process can be gradual. Or even where it is attuned, the process can be so gradual that one does not experience any difficulty nor any power moving in the body. He merely sees the subjective phenomena. He sees light, he hears sounds, he begins to feel ecstatic states, happiness, bliss, elevation, without being apparent, without being in the least conscious of that a certain energy is moving inside. Now, therefore, there have been people who think that Kundalini is not involved in higher consciousness, but actually it is the evolution of the nervous system and the brain that leads to enlightenment. If the brain were not involved or the nervous system were to be out of it, then I would say that it is only a delusional state. But in order the state to be real and permanent and a part of human awareness, it is absolutely necessary that it should have an organic base also, and that organic base is Kundalini. So in every form of yoga, whether there has been an explosive awakening or enlightenment has come by gradual degrees without any consciousness of a force moving in the body, the real agent is Kundalini. The real lever to the condition is Kundalini, and as I have said, Kundalini is interwoven in the whole system. Why it is being said to reside at the base of the spine is that when the whole system is ripe, then it appears that the energy is rising from the base of the spine, because now the reproductive system is actively involved in the process.
The experience of enlightenment has been noted and described many, many times in the history of various religious and spiritual traditions, and usually it is said to be ineffable, beyond description. You yourself live in a constant state of enlightenment. Can you speak about the quality of your experience? What is enlightenment like?
As you have said, the condition is indescribable in terms of human language. It is possible a language may be devised in future to describe this new state of consciousness. But so far as my own experience goes, I can imperfectly and inadequately express it in this way, that when I compare myself with what I was before the age of 34 or before the first awakening, I see a radical difference in myself as a conscious entity. Now, every one of us is a point of awareness, mostly located round about the head. Though we experience sensations and impressions coming from all parts of the body, but mainly we feel more conscious of ourselves round about the head. In former times, it was even held that consciousness resided or the spirit resided in the heart. But generally speaking, we are conscious of ourselves generally round about the head, and sometimes when we extend our awareness and try to take in the whole of the body, we become even aware of the body. Now, in my case, the situation is different. My awareness is now like an ocean. I feel aware at every point of the compass. When I look around me, I feel that I am not only confined in the body, but I am floating with the clouds. It is a staggering experience. It is inexpressible, but I will try my best. I feel myself blowing with the wind. The wind seems to be a part of me. The other day I saw a waterfall, the Rhine waterfall, and I had two companions with me who were perhaps struck by my silence, and they said it afterwards. I was feeling as if I was hurling myself with that mass of water down into the abysm below. If a thunder roars, it seems to be that it is my voice, it is my noise, it is I who am roaring. It creates such a sensation in myself that sometimes when the spectacle is very grand or very extensive, I lose even the hold on myself and have a fear that I may fall down.
In a swoon?
Maybe in a state of unconsciousness, or maybe in such an intense state that I cannot retain control over my muscular system. When I look from, say, a rooftop at the world with the sun shining and a cloudless sky, I see myself in a paradise of light. The buildings are the same, the men are the same, the trees are the same, the flowers are the same as you see, but to me they have another appearance. They appear to belong to a fairyland. They are the Shiva, as the ancient Indian mystics have described. They are now the Brahman. They are the projections of a mighty I, a mighty self-consciousness, a mighty knower, a boundless intelligence, of which I too am a part. I am not the whole of it. That can never be, because it is so stupendous. But I feel that everywhere I am with it. That, in other words, it is I who am looking at this world. And then suddenly I am brought back to myself because of my frail flesh and my frail body. But for the moments when I am looking at it and contemplating the panorama of nature or any view or any individual, I feel that I am in an enchanted land, and that what I am perceiving does not belong to the earth as I knew it before the age of 34. It is something else. It is something glorious. It is something full of splendor, joy, bliss and happiness. This is the reason why the Indian sages have designated this experience as Sat Chit Ananda. Because now there is no doubt left. There is no question about why I came into existence. What is this world? Why is this? Why is that? It all is dissolved in one stupendous self-consciousness, in one immense I. The knower, the reality, the first cause, that knows no doubt, no death, no beginning, one eternal substance. I have no words to tell you what happens. A new sort of a perception, a new sort of a consciousness now starts to function. And what was a frail creature now becomes a giant, a titan, an immortal being for whom there is no fear, no worry, no anxiety, for whom there is no limitation, who is the king. And that is also one of the reasons why the really enlightened men in India were called Swamis, the lords, and in Persian as Shah, the king, because it is a state that gives you an inexpressible joy beyond anything that you can experience on earth. You see, the highest joy we can have is the pleasure of love with a person intensely beloved. If, for instance, a man or a woman fall in love with a person and most intensely desire him, and then after years of waiting and patience, they have a chance to meet him and hold that person in embrace. That state would convey a fraction of the ecstasy, of the exaltation, of the happiness that is always present in the mind of a youth. Even if one becomes a king overnight or a multimillionaire, for instance, if I, a poor man, suddenly become a multimillionaire, I think that this pleasure or this happiness would not even be a fraction of the pleasure that I am enjoying now. It is for this reason that in Yoga Vasishta, a famous book on higher consciousness, it is written that for one who has attained to higher consciousness, even a kingdom is insignificant. That is the reason why people left homes, why people left kingdoms.